The Aspotogan Peninsula is a peninsula in the eastern part of Lunenburg County, Nova Scotia, situated between St. Margarets Bay in the east from Mahone Bay in the west. The peninsula was originally settled by second-generation French immigrants on the east, St. Margarets Bay side, and by second-generation French immigrants on the east, St. Margarets Bay side, and by second-generation German immigrants on the west, Mahone Bay side. Traditionally, fishing was a major industry for communities throughout the peninsula. However, other primary industries such as farming and forestry were historic.
The coast of the Aspotogan Peninsula is dotted with a number of small fishing and tourist-related communities, Hubbards in the northeast being the largest. Other communities going west around the peninsula are Fox Point, Mill Cove, Birchy Head, The Lodge, Northwest Cove, Southwest Cove, Aspotogan, Bayswater, New Harbour, Blandford, Upper Blandford, Deep Cove, and East River. Route 329 circles the peninsula along the coast, while Trunk 3 and Highway 103 pass to the north.
The name Aspotogan is a corruption of Ashmutagan or Ikpudskakan, meaning block the passageway, or where the seals go in and out one along with the Micmac. There were primarily three strains of immigrants who settled the Aspotogan Peninsula, first the Newfoundland Irish, 1750s, then the New England and planters arrived from Chester, Nova Scotia, 1760s, and, finally, second-generation foreign Protestants arrived from French Village, Nova Scotia, and Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, 1780s. The community of Blandford, Nova Scotia was the first community on the Aspotogan to be settled. The first recorded SC.
Gan, until the beginning of World War II, 1939. Gan, until the beginning of World War II, 1939.
The Acadians never lived on the Aspotogan Peninsula. However, their presence in Nova Scotia significantly influenced immigration to the colony. Even 40 years after the British conquest of Nova Scotia, 1710, the population of Nova Scotia was still dominated by Catholic Acadians, population 10,000. To offset the Catholic population, with the founding of Halifax, 1749, the British created an immigration policy to attract Protestants to the colony. Apart from the foreign Protestants, the first immigrants to settle the Aspotogan Peninsula may have been Newfoundland Irish, who were Catholics. 5 by 1750. There were 3,500 Newfoundland Irish in Nova Scotia. 6 by 1767, there were 22 Newfoundland Irish Catholics living on the peninsula. Those who, to offset the Catholic population, with the founding of Halifax, 1749, the British created an immigration policy to attract Protestants to the colony.
Prior to 1767, the Protestants who settled the Aspotogan Peninsula were the New England planters, primarily from Massachusetts. For these Protestants from New England, the governor of Nova Scotia established Chester, 1759. Some of these New England planters eventually crossed Mahone Bay to settle low and the Aspotogan Peninsula. Nova Scotia Lieutenant Governor Michael Franklin reported that by January 1, 1767, there were 11 Americans already living on the peninsula. According to Nova Scotia Lieutenant Governor Franklin's return, by 1767 there were also 62 English living on the Aspotogan. 9. The identity.
After 1767, a significant strain of immigrants to settle the Aspotogan Peninsula was foreign Protestants, both German and French-speaking. Upon the founding of Halifax in 1749, Nova Scotia was a British Protestant colony with only Catholic Acadian settlers. In an attempt to assimilate the Catholic in 1969, Highway 103 was completed, linking Hubbards to Halifax with a two-lane controlled access highway, with a driving time of only 45 minutes. More residents began to commute to Halifax for work. Reasonable land prices and the opportunity to live in a rural setting also encouraged many city dwellers. In 1969, Highway 103 was completed, linking Hubbards to Halifax with a two-lane controlled access highway, with a driving time of only 45 minutes. More residents began to commute to Halifax for work. Reasonable land prices and the opportunity to live in a rural setting also encouraged many city dwellers.
Tourism continues to be an important contributor to the local economy, drawing people from all over the world. Local bed and breakfast operators and inns, restaurants, and campgrounds are busy during the summer months. The Shore Club, which recently celebrated its 50th anniversary, remains one of the last great dance halls in the area, and is well known for its Saturday night dances and lobster suppers.
Regiments were raised on the Aspotogan to defend against possible Fenian raids, such as the regiment at Blandford, Nova Scotia. During World War I, the military built a 40-foot look-off at the peak of the Aspotogan Mountain. The Gainsborough Hotel was sold to the federal government in 1944 and was used as part of the St. Margarets Bay Training School for the Canadian Merchant Navy. In 1969, the J.D. Shatford Library was built on the site. In 1967, Canadian Forces Station Mill Cove, CFS Mill Cove, was opened to provide a naval radio communications receiving station for Maritime Forces Atlantic. The radio station consisted of approximately 4,000 acres, 16 km2, of land, private married quarters, and administration buildings. The complex was a major employer and contributor to the local economy until it was automated in the late 1990s.